is going to be about the different perspectives towards the Spanish Armada, or La Armada Invencible. It's going to be quite long because I'm going to be assessing both the Spanish point of view and the English. I've done quite a bit of research, quite a bit, so I hope you enjoy. I think I can actually make this video because I'm Spanish, but I've been studying at a British school all my life, so I've been taught both points of views, and I've made my own judgment. And yeah, I'll get into my own opinion right after I have finished telling you all about this. So I'm going to start with the Spanish point of view first. I'm going to repeat myself probably because there's things you can't deny. There's just like the number of ships, the dates, the people. You can't deny that. So I probably am going to repeat myself, but oh well. Anyway, so the Spanish Armada in Spanish is called La Armada Invencible, so the Invincible Armada. Therefore, showing how they thought it would be impossible to defeat. And it went from the 31st of July of 1588 to around the 9th of August of that year. So, well, the Spanish people do believe that it was an English victory rather than a Spanish loss, if that makes sense. Is that like the Spanish lost? Is it the English won? So, yeah. They do say that English ships only really won after an attack on Calais, which weakened the Spanish, and kind of, they only won because of that, but there's more. They said that this attack prevented the Spanish army from crossing the English Channel, so they couldn't launch the invasion. Technically, the Spanish Armada was supposed to be the first step to get the army there, to get part of the Spanish army there to England, and then Philip would send the rest. But this attack on Calais stopped this happening, so that's that. So I'm going to get into a bit of the details of the Spanish Armada. By the way, the Spanish Armada is actually the English name for this. I'm not going to call it the Invincible Armada, even though the Spanish name is Armada Invencible, because I disagree with that name. It wasn't invincible, it was defeated, but it was a Spanish Armada. It was an Armada from Spain. So I'm going to call it the Spanish Armada. Now, who were the sides? First of all, on the Spanish side was Philip II of Spain with Duke of Medina Sidonia, or Medina Sidonia. And on the other hand, on the English side was Elizabeth I with Lord Effingham and Sir Francis Drake. There's others, but I'm not going to get into that right now, in a bit. Well, the tactics, I'm going to get into them in a bit, but generally, this is on the Spanish side. I got this information from my own, what I was told in the Spanish system, well, not the Spanish system, but in Spanish classes, and from Spanish websites and other sources, Spanish sources. They all admit that the English tactics were superior. So that definitely contributed to the English win. But the question is, why send a whole armada, right? Why did Philip even bother? Well, he wanted to invade England with a force of 30,000 men from, helped by the Duke of Parma. And what happened ended in a attack in Calais, which ultimately broke the Armada formation, and the English won. There was a battle of Bravelands, and basically by the end, the Spanish had to go around the British Isles instead of just going from England to Spain. Had to go around Scotland and Ireland. So the background. Well, Sir Francis Drake in 1585 attacked the Spanish coast, while waiting for the English to leave 4,000 troops in Holland. This was a kind of a declaration of war. It wasn't a formal one. There was never, like, even in the Spanish Armada itself, there was never an actual declaration of war, but this was kind of a practical, hey, we're gonna stop you from doing your stuff. We hate the Spanish. There was a lot of English xenophobia against the Spanish. I'm gonna get into that more in the English point of view, but yeah, the Spanish suffered attacks by the English. Well, this armada was sent through the through the channel. In Spain, it's called Canal de la Mancha. In English, it's called the English Channel. Because I'm speaking in English, I'm going to call it the English Channel. But just know it's also Canal de la Mancha in Spain. Anyway, well, they sent the armada through there, so the Duke of Parma was escorted and could travel to England safely. Because you want to get there safely. Because then you're going to kill people. You need to get there safely. Well, Sir Francis Drake was this pirate who left with 22 boats and attacked Cadiz in 1587. He managed to burn and/or capture 36 Spanish boats, and apart from that, he also attacked Azores. Drake basically did this in order to delay the Spanish Armada, which he did. Philip was planning on launching this whole attack in 1587. In 1585, remember, was when Drake first attacked the Spanish. Drake hated the Spanish. 1585, first attack. 1587, Philip had planned to attack the English. That didn't end up happening because of the attacks in Cadiz and Azores, but yeah. I'm going to get into it in a bit as to why Drake knew the attack was coming. Well, the Duke of Santa Cruz, there's like a few titles like Marquess, Earl, Duke. There's like an exact translation, I don't think, from English to Spanish. So I may mix them up. So if I do that, I'm sorry. But I think it's the Duke of Santa Cruz. He had died. And he was the head of the Armada. He died in February 1588. So Philip was forced to replace him. And who did he put it? He put Medina Sidonia. He didn't have any real experience. He was an experienced soldier. He was a good land warrior kind of deal. He didn't have any naval combat experience. So to put him at the head of the Spanish Armada, kind of but anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now. And, well, Drake did cause a lot of damage. And Sidonia was forced to fix what Drake had done, and it wasn't easy. A lot of damage. Well, on the 1st of April, the Spanish Armada was commanded to go to Margate in England, then go to Thames, and then attack London. So by the 1st of April of 1588, they kind of had a plan going. Then on the 30th of May, before that, Philip knew perfectly well different strategies that were going on. The Spanish were really skilled close combat fighters. They could, if it was land-to-land combat, and that's what Philip wanted, they knew they would be so superior to the English because the Spanish were more adapted to fighting close range. The English, however, were smarter in the sense that, so in naval combat they would be smarter because they would attack. They preferred an attack of long range, so from a safe distance. Were there to be a close combat, the Spanish would prove superior. So the English, Philip assumed Elizabeth would be smart enough to try and prevent any close combat. And so Philip worked extra hard to encourage close combat. Well, on the 30th of May, from Lisboa, Lisbon was the Spanish name, Lisbon, in Portugal, 130 ships left with 2,400 cannons. By the way, some places say 8,000 sailors, others say 7,000, I'm not quite sure, but quite a few sailors, and 19,000 soldiers, with 11,000 more expected to arrive later on. But that's quite a bit. And you could obviously tell by the number of sailors and soldiers that the Spanish were planning on landing in England and basically launching a full-on invasion and taking England for Spain. Well, the Spanish were kind of impressive from afar. Sorry about that, that's my dog. The Spanish were kind of impressive from afar, and they weren't that impressive up close, not that big a deal. And they did have combat. They had the battle against the Turks, and the famous, if I'm not mistaken, I may be, 1571 Battle of Lepanto, in which Miguel de Cervantes lost his hand. I forget which. If I'm not mistaken, that may be wrong, but that was really the only sea-time naval war experience the Spanish had. So they were kind of impressive up close, They were kind of impressive from afar, not up close, and they weren't that experienced. But Philip and Maria Sidonia, they knew this, and they basically, I'm not sure if this is the right word, but they did propaganda to the English, like, look at our powerful, experienced armada, we're superior to you. To basically scare them and say, oh my god, they're so superior, wow. Basically. Well, the thing is, the English did have a faster fleet, and they had their ships were able to outmaneuver the Spanish, Furthermore, the English were fighting on the home front. It wasn't that they were right at the coast of England, but it was closer to England, so the conditions were what they were used to, basically, rather than from Spain, which was much further south. So that was an advantage towards the English. Well, also the cannons and the artillery they had was superior. The English, they could fire cannons 3 to 4 times faster than the Spanish could. So like I said, it wasn't that the Spanish were useless, it's just that they were only impressive from afar, but the English were kind of superior. Mind you, again, I'm going to state this again, and until I say otherwise, this is all from Spanish sources. I'm just saying what the Spanish think of this. So even the Spanish can admit the English were kind of superior. Well, Philip, he wasn't that great of a man in terms of handling finances, I don't think, from what I've read. And he knew that this armada he wanted, this crusade against the English, could not be afforded. So instead of buying new ships, he used loans or repaired others. Well, basically the equipment was, again, not adapted, not only artillery, but also the supplies. Spanish weather is completely different from English weather, so food, drink, warmth, everything. It's different. So it's just like the English were more prepared than the Spanish, but only because they were fighting on their home front. Was it like, had the tables been turned, the English attacking the Spanish, then things could have been different. The Spanish would have been better prepared. Also, English weather is kind of harsher than the Spanish weather. That's that. Well, the English, like the Spanish had the loans and their repaired ships. The English had 24 new boats, and overall the fleet had 105 ships. I say ships and boats. I know they're not the same thing, but just picture, I have a picture here. Let me just, if I say ships or boats, I mean the typical Spanish Armada, this. So, yeah. Let me just go back to where I was. And, yeah, they had 24 new boats and 105 total ships. It's just kind of funny. I touched upon this in another video, but under Mary, the same Philip had given her money for 6 new ships and a lot of money to repair her own ships, the same ones that would later go on to be used in the Spanish Armada, against the Spanish Armada. Well, Howard, Medina Sidonia did not have that much of a war experience, but neither did Howard, Lord Howard, the main guy for the English. However, Howard did have experienced men like Sir Francis Drake, the pirate, and Frobisher under his command, who knew perfectly well what they were dealing with. So they had that, the Spanish didn't. Also, Drake had secretly heard of the Spanish plan. And I have to stress how the Spanish sources all say that Sir Francis Drake had used methods of espionage and secret ways of getting their information. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to come back to it in a bit. But basically the Spanish are like, hey, this pirate used secret tactics to get information on our fleet. So that's that. Elizabeth, she knew what was coming. She had been warned by Drake and others, so she had to prepare for a land invasion. She thought Essex would be more of a possibility for any invasion, so she put Robert Dudley, or the Earl of Leicester, right there, along with 14 to 20,000 men. Yeah. And then left Kent, also an area in the south of England, with a mere 4,000 men. Funnily enough, the Spanish were not headed for Essex, they were headed for Kent. That was kind of a failure. But let's not judge the Spanish just yet. I'm sorry. Well, at first they were planning on leaving mid-July, but there was a storm, so the Spanish were delayed. Well, they got to the English Channel on the 30th of July and then finally pushed through on the 31st. Medina Sidonia commanded the Spanish fleet to unfold in a half-crescent shape. So like a huge... So if I'm the Spanish fleet, you're the English, it would be like that. So the big ships here, and then closer to the English would be the smaller ships. This whole thing extended lengthwise 2 miles. 2 miles of Spanish ships. It was an impressive sight. You can't deny the fact that they should have been there. But had you been there, you would be terrified if you were on the English side. I don't blame them. God, it's 2 miles of ships. Biggest armada in the world. Quite impressive. Well, like I said before, there had never been a formal declaration of war on the Spanish. So Lord Howard said, let's do this. He sent a ship to one of the Spanish ones and just didn't sink it. He just symbolically ordered a cannon to be fired, therefore declaring war. But not really, but yeah. That was the start of the conflict, the start of the fighting, this symbolic shot. I don't think Elizabeth ever declared war on Philip, or Philip declaring war on Elizabeth. But the fact that there was 2 armadas fighting, that's kind of war, right? Well, like I said, the Spanish had this half-present shape. The English were like, let's just do a line, right? I get it. Sorry about that. But I get the line, but I do think the half-present moon shape thing is smarter because the line, you can't fire the cannons. Especially there, you fire the cannons, you fire on your own ships. If you're in a half-present shape, the cannons are allowed to fire. And the stronger and the best ships, the quicker ones, are at the front, ready to face the opponent, and the most powerful ones, the slowest ones, are at the back. So I do think in that sense, the Spanish had the best idea. But the English did this, like the straight line, to also kind of smart. You have to think about it. To avoid close combat. They knew, like I said, the Spanish army was superior in that, so if they were like all in line, no individual ship could be attacked. If you attacked one, you had to attack all of them. Kind of smart, if you ask me. Okay. We're talking about the Spanish point of view, not my own. Well, this guy, Spanish commander, Don Pedro de Valles, he surrendered before Drake and basically, not committed treason, but surrendered. Medina Sidonia was pissed. He's like, all of you traitors, you're going to be hanged. I'm going to punish you all when we win. And decided to basically split the formation into 2 groups. A vanguard and I don't know the English translation to the retaguardia. Vanguard, I don't know. But the 2 groups. The English did fight against the Spanish on the 2nd of August, but didn't really get nothing. It's just they fought, but the English didn't really win. Lord Howard, he also, a few days after, I don't know if this is because of a tactical idea or because he saw the Spanish do this or not, but he also split his fleet into 4 groups. I'm gonna get into the groups in a bit, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that's from the English side, but he split into 4 groups. Him leading one, Sir Francis Drake leading another one. And however, this did not stop the Spanish Armada from reaching Calais in France on the 6th of August. Yes, sorry, I blanked there. The Drake did. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna start that bit again. Howard split the English Armada into 4 groups. 3 of them. This is what I meant. Yeah, 3 of them stopped the Armada and basically said, like, "Hey, look at us. We're stopping you. Look at us. Yes, us. We're the important ones." Okay. Sir Francis Drake, the pirate, basically surprised them and attacked them, which didn't stop the Spanish Armada from reaching Calais in France on the 6th of August. Calais, fun fact, if you didn't know, was in the past an English territory, but got lost in the Habsburg-Valois War under Mary because Philip dragged Mary into it. So, well, the Spanish thought that was a good place, right? France is Catholic, and the governor of Calais is Catholic, so we can settle here, right? When they got there, Medina Sidonia, he was kind of screwed because he got told, hey, so we're not giving you any more ships until at least 6 days. So yeah, deal with that. Medina Sidonia is like, what? He can get reinforcements. And this, I'm going to be very biased about this. I'm going to explain it in a bit more detail at the end, but it's kind of an awesome tactic by the English. Howard sent 8 ships with the gunpowder and stuff and kind of exploded them. The Spanish saw this and was like, you're seriously trying to surprise us? Come on. So they stopped 2 of the ships. However, there were still 6 of the ships left, which exploded, leading to the Spanish breaking formation. This is all still in Calais. And leaving the Spanish right there where the English wanted. Chaos. Like, the formation broken. The good thing about the Spanish half-present shape was because the formation was so strong and so powerful, it was impossible to breach, but this had managed it. So, Lord Howard, kind of a smart thing. Like, even Spanish people admit this. Most Spanish people admit this. Well, then the final thing of the Spanish Armada was the Battle of Bravelands, leading to Spanish boats being really destroyed, suffering a lot of damage. And one of them even sank. The only one out of all of them. One sank, 1,000 Spanish men died, and 800 killed. I don't have the figures for the English, but that's for the Spanish. Also, Medina Sidonia, like I said, he was really mad about the whole, like, oh, you broke formation, oh, you're gonna get hanged. So he did condemn all those who broke formation. However, he let them go, except this one guy. One guy was hanged because of this. One guy. Poor guy! I don't get it. But yeah. One guy was killed because of breaking formation. The others were acquitted. This guy was killed. Sorry. So the Spanish Armada had clearly lost. They didn't reach their objective. The objective was to invade England. The Spanish Armada did not, in fact, invade England. So they had lost. Makes sense, right? So now I'm going to get into the reasons why the Spanish lost, from the Spanish point of view. Again, I can't stress this enough. This is from the Spanish point of view. Well, the Spanish army was in this army and armada. You can't deny how they were very impressive and very well prepared. Especially the army, the armada, not so much, but the army, yeah. However, Medina Sidonia himself did not have that much faith in Spain, which kind of led to the downfall. Parma had contacted Medina Sidonia regarding reinforcements, and um, and Medina Sidonia actually said, I'm gonna read it in Spanish then in English. Yo estoy espantado de no haber tenido aviso suyo en tantos días. Which means, I'm kind of shocked. I never heard back from him in a few days. In so many days, sorry. Yeah, in so many days. He got ghosted. I find the Spanish Armada really funny, so I know people died. But it's just different tactics, especially by the Spanish. Kind of find funny. So I'm sorry if I laugh, but that's just me. Also, there was, like I said, lack of communication. Duke of Parma basically ignored and ghosted Medina Sidonia. It's not like Duke of Parma wanted to prevent the Spanish from succeeding, it's just he never replied. I forget why. Also, Flanders was not ready for the Armada, which was where they landed, so they couldn't really support them. Also, Howard, as soon as he knew, Lord Howard, English side, as soon as he knew about the Armada, he left to face it. So, Lord Howard had kind of plenty of notice. Also, the Spanish did have a large front and had ships from both Spain and Portugal. So, they did have a strong force. The army was far stronger than the Armada, like I said, and the Spanish, what kind of failed them was the idea that short distance combat, they would be superior. However, the English managed to have a long distance combat. Religion was what kept up morale. You can believe whatever you want, but in times of war, people turn to desperate measures. And I know there's a whole crusades regarding religious war, but if you want to attack something, you should rely on your military strength rather than your religion. Because as much as you believe in God, one guy cannot fight a whole army. So you have to rely on military strength and the support from whatever god or gods you want, but military strength. Also on the Spanish boats, all distractions were banned and they had daily passwords, which was kind of a good thing at the time, but if you think about it, no distractions, the men were gloomy, bored all the time, hated what they were doing, so that kind of sucked for them. So the conditions were not good. They didn't enjoy their little cruise ship around England. Yes, I know people died. That movie. So overall, that was the most educated part of why the Spanish lost. From talking to my friends and from what I've personally heard and been taught in class, is that the reason the Spanish lost was not because the English were superior, but because the bad weather, they had to go around the British Isles. In the whole 8 ships was an act of cowardice. And Drake was basically a pirate who didn't respect the war tactics. I mean, by now you can probably tell I agree more with the English point of view. I just think the bad weather, that's England. You can't blame something, the bad weather. You just can't. You have to be adapted to it. They had to go around, I'm going to get to this in a second, but they had to go around the British Isles because British Isles because the English, if I say British at one point, it's wrong. By this point, it's England, not Britain. But the English had blocked the easy access, so they did have to go around. The whole 8 fireboats was not an act of cowardice, it was an act of recognizing the forces of Spanish and attacking them. Like, that was a desperate thing they had to do. This is war. You don't do the logical thing. You do whatever will bring you the victory. So, of course, if you see a more powerful fleet, the English knew the Spanish were more powerful, you're going to try whatever you can. Okay? It's not an act of cowardice. It's a tactical act. I have a friend who keeps saying it's an act of cowardice because Drake was this coward. But I don't know, I don't think it was a tactical idea. It wasn't. Sir Francis Drake and Howard were like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Let's just send 8 unmanned boats. No, they recognized the power of the Spanish. The English knew the Spanish were far superior. Anyway, ignoring what I just said, sorry about that, I'm going to get into the English point of view. Just a warning, my phone has, like, when I'm recording this on my phone, and it has this little thing that it says how much time I've recorded, and it has like a bar saying up till 49 minutes. I'm not going to have time to explain the whole English side of the argument. I've recorded for 36 minutes, wow, in 13 minutes. So if it cuts off at one point, I'm gonna continue recording. So if it cuts off, there's gonna be a little cut between the clips, but it's all gonna be in the same place. Don't worry. It's not like the Henry VII video where I did have to put an additional video after that. But if it cuts off, I'm sorry, I can't really do anything about it. If you notice, at around 33 minutes, there's a cut there. That's my phone, I'm sorry. But it says, like, right where I'm pointing here, 49 minutes, so yeah. Anyway, back to history. Well, what was the reason for the Spanish Armada? It was basically Philip II of Spain's way to impose Catholicism in England. A bit of English history. If you watch my videos on the early Tudors, you know this, but Henry VIII had broken from the Roman Catholic Church and imposed Protestantism, really enforced by Edward, and later on Mary I, when she came to the throne, she tried to restore Catholicism in England. Well, during Mary's reign, and I remember I looked into this and I had it wrong in the video. I said it was 1555. And it's 1554. She married Mary I of England, daughter of Catherine of Aragon, Catalina de Aragon, a Spanish princess. So she had ties to Spain. She married Philip II of Spain. Back then in 1554, just a prince. In 1558, would become king of Spain, which is it's not fun for Mary because Mary died. That's it. Yeah. Anyway, Parliament. I've done Mary in government. Yeah. If you've watched my video, which if you have, thank you. But if you haven't, go watch it. It's good. If you watch my video on Mary in government, you know how Parliament basically rejected Philip. They refused to include him in the Treason Act, and basically, it's not like they didn't like him, it's just they were afraid of his powers as king. So he was a king in name only, not really king. So he was kind of king, but he faced hostilities. He wasn't really accepted. Well, Elizabeth, she came to the throne, but she was the daughter of Anne Boleyn, the woman Henry VIII had left Catherine of Aragon for. Anne Boleyn was a humanist, Protestant, and those traits were present in Elizabeth. She was Protestant, and I haven't done a video on it yet, but I'm going to. She enforced Protestantism on the English people. Well, the main guys, English speaking, from the like Spanish Armada, the English Armada, yeah, where apart from Howard were three men: Drake, Sir Francis Drake, Frobisher, and Hawkins. These guys hated the Spanish so much. They were constantly pillaging the Spanish and destroying their towns. They were pirates. There's no other word for it. They were pirates. However, in the Spanish point of view, they're like pirates. In the English point of view, they're like, that's our pirates. That's how basically the Spanish saw those who attacked Central America when the whole discovery of America happened. Anyway, well, Elizabeth and Philip did not get along. Philip did offer to marry Elizabeth. She refused. And in the 1560s, 1570s, I mentioned this in my video on Elizabethan government, but Elizabeth actively supported Protestants in the Netherlands. The Netherlands were Spanish occupied, and they had rebels who were Protestant and wanted independence from Spain. But by 1584, Philip's like, okay, I'm fed up. This is it. I'm going to start the construction of an armada. It's going to be the biggest in the world and the most powerful, and we're going to win everything. And we're going to call it the Invincible Armada. La Armada Invencible. Yeah, that's... Of course, yeah, you can do that, yeah, totally. Well, he also had papal support. Obviously, the Pope wanted to impose Roman Catholicism. Philip wanted to impose Roman Catholicism, so the Pope would have Philip would have the support of the Pope. So that's kind of that doesn't really work for the English, you know. Well, the Spanish were desperate for ammunition because Philip didn't have the funds for a proper armada. So they bought cannons, guns, powder, swords from everywhere they could. Remember how I said when I was telling you about the Spanish point of view how Drake was portrayed as a spy guy who had managed to secretly gain access to information from, like, they were planning on building the armada? Yeah? No. The Spanish were desperate for things, so they basically posted, not really, but this is an analogy so you can understand. They posted ads and saying, hey, we're looking to buy things. Sir Francis Drake naturally encountered the Spanish trying to buy things. He put the pieces together. It's like, hey, they're kind of building an armada. You should kind of do something. So it's not like Sir Francis Drake managed to infiltrate the Spanish. No, just the Spanish were so desperate, they basically gave Francis Drake the information. They couldn't keep it a secret. Then, like I said, in 1587, he attacked Cadiz, which it is said to be against Elizabeth's wishes. But again, Drake did destroy ships and delayed the armada for another year. So that kind of worked for Elizabeth, even though she didn't want. Then, in April, like I said, like I mentioned before, the armada had one little false start with 130 ships, 30,000 on board, along with like the sailors and the soldiers, and get this, 180 priests. That's more than one priest per boat. Again, Spanish really, really, really Catholic. So, and it was like a crusade basically, and with papal support. So obviously they had to have priests. However, they also had 14,000 barrels of wine. A barrel is quite a large container. So much for prohibiting all entertainment. Am I right? Well, the Spanish, like I said, really, anyone in England is going to tell you this. Had a really impressive formation, the crescent shape. So the middle one was a big ship being protected by the other smaller ships as you went along. So this crescent shape, they said to England, but it wasn't supposed to be the first destination. They would first go to the Netherlands to pick up Spanish soldiers and reinforcements. And then this was all under, like I said, Medina Sidonia, who, if you go to, as anyone who has studied this from an English point of view, they're going to be like, this guy had no experience in combat. He doesn't know what he's doing. The Spanish are going to tell you that, yeah, he was a really experienced military commander. They were just testing him out, naval-wise. The English is like, you sent this guy who knows nothing about naval combat to fight in a naval combat. Whilst us, the English, the wonderful English, have Sir Francis Drake, Lord Howard, I forgot the name of the other guy, Frobisher, Hawkins, experienced. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it because it sounds wrong. Men who worked at sea. Well, Sir Francis Drake left an English force on the 19th of July. So it was just kind of funny because when they told him he had to leave, he was finished. He had a game of bowls. He's like, "Relax, guys. We got time. Let me just finish this." You can either take this two ways. I'm going to tell you which side is which. If you were Spanish, we were looking at it through a Spanish perspective. Sir Francis Drake, he knew he could relax because the tide was against him and he couldn't do much. If we were looking at it from an English perspective, he's like, we can do this. We can defeat the Spanish easy. So just relax. We got plenty of time. We're gonna win. We're the superior ones. Chill. I don't know which is which. For story's sake, I kind of want to believe the bravado one. In reality, I think it's going to be the tide. Who knows? We can't exactly ask him. He died in 1596. So Drake really couldn't, when he reached the Spanish, he knew he couldn't do much against them. They were really powerful. So, big brain, he said, I'm going to waste ammunition. So, that's what he did. And at one point, the Spanish were running out of ammo. And Medina Sidonia, he had to pick up extra troops, which was kind of hard because Duke Parma was ghosting him. So, then they anchored in Bravelands on the 27th of July. After all this, they went to Calais, and the 8 hell burners were sent, which managed to, break, like I said, break the formation and sink one boat. Kind of awesome. You can't deny 8 ships, burning ships. Really impressive. The video may cut off now, so I'm sorry. If it cuts off, I'll add another clip together. So yeah, it may cut off now. The previous clip cut off. I only have 2 minutes, which I don't know why it is, but I'm gonna get to this quickly. I think I'm running out of space on my phone, so yes, let's do this quickly. Well, English attacked the Spanish, but 4 galleons were defending it. The Armada was quite vulnerable because of this. 3 galleons perished with significant loss of life, but the English were smart. They formed a blockade through the English Channel, so the Spanish couldn't get through and had to go around the British Isles through Scotland. As they went around, the faster English ships could deal damage. Also, storms and several other factors led to crashes and basically disaster for the Spanish. They had to go around. they went to Ireland because Ireland is Catholic. They were supposed to host them, right? Well, they weren't well received. As long like every single person who actually landed in Ireland got killed. So that's that. And overall, the Spanish was quite a defeat for the Spanish. 50 ships went down. 50% of the ships went down. Most of them during the journey around, but still, some of them in the actual fighting. And overall, 75% of the men who went on the whole crusade thing were killed. The English, on the other hand, lost no ships were sank, and only 100 men died. And they barely left England when the Spanish had to go all the way to England, quite far. However, the soldiers weren't really exactly treated well after this. I have 40 seconds. So it was a victory over the Spanish because the Spanish, they had managed to keep Protestantism and not allow for the spread of Catholicism. So I'm going now to get into the British point of view of why the Spanish lost. It's gonna cut off. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. I don't know why this is happening. Because the leaders, the Medina Sidonia, he was quite experienced. The planning was the crescent shape, really well done, but the English broke that. And maybe they should have thought of a backup plan. 10 seconds. The Duke of Parma never really delivered the reinforcement because they weren't able to pick them up because of the English. I have 52 seconds. Okay, so they never delivered the reinforcements. The English and Spanish tactics, long range, short range, very different. So it wasn't like kind of this adjustment, and therefore the English were kind of superior. The ships were slower by the Spanish, so worse equipped, and the cannons used by the English were could be reloaded quickly and they could fire from them really quickly. However, the Spanish had to fire from short distances and slow to reload, unlike the English. And the weather, they weren't used to the English weather. It's gonna cut off in 7 seconds. I don't know why this is happening, so sorry. I'm gonna try to do something. Hi, so sorry about the end of that part. It just cut off. My phone said it didn't have enough space, and I'm not exactly going to record a whole almost hour's worth again, so I'm sorry about that. It's kind of rushed. I don't really know if you can actually understand me, because when I speak really fast, you can't really understand what I'm saying because of my accent. So I'm going to do the conclusion here. Again, I'm so sorry for that last part. I highly doubt anyone is actually listening to this because most people stop after like 2 minutes. But if you're still listening to this, thank you, and this is my conclusion. Well, I honestly side with the English in the sense because they were more advanced in what they thought. They had more experienced men, their tactics were better, and even though the Spanish were quite powerful, they should have thought this out before. They should have made sure they could get the reinforcements and put someone who had actually had any naval combat experience rather than Medina Sidonia, who had nothing. So that's that. I lost my energy in trying to delete my videos. So sorry. Basically I side with the English. I'm not saying that the Spanish were incompetent and that's why they lost. No. I'm saying that the Spanish were really powerful, and so the English managed to find ways to beat them. The whole example I'm basing this on is this discussion I had with a friend. She told me, oh yeah, the English were cowards. She is kind of really nationalist. She really believes Spain is the best. I'm Spanish. I honestly don't feel any nationalism towards Spain, but that's not a problem, I don't think. I also don't feel that. I do prefer Britain over Spain. But anyway. She said oh yeah, the Spanish are the best Philip was like amazing, like he's like this great guy. Look at us. And of course, the English had to resort to like really drastic measures to beat us because we're so great. No, the English had to resort to those drastic measures because yes, you were great, and it was not an act of cowardice like you were saying. No. It is an act of recognizing the power of the Spanish, and so doing that. I've already explained this. And one last time, I really want to apologize if any of the parts were cut off, and especially in the last part. I am really sorry. I don't have the time to re-record everything, and I really doubt anyone's like kept on watching after like 20 minutes maximum. So thank you for watching if you're watching this, and again I apologize if it cut off. Maybe in the future I redo this video, but not right now. I have way too much going on. So thank you, and again I apologize. I'm sorry. Thank you for watching.